Why High Deductible G is my favorite Medicare supplement plan. This is financial planner Sean Mullaney. Let's discuss. So you get into your 50s and early 60s and Medicare is around the corner and nobody knows what to do, right? So let me break it down. Two basic paths, right? One path is traditional Medicare. Spoiler alert, that's my favorite path. Why? No pre-authorizations, generally speaking, in most cases. You have access to a geographically diverse network of doctors, essentially anyone who's taken Medicare for the most part. So the world's your oyster when you're thinking about selection of medical providers. That's the path I tend to like. The alternative is Medicare Advantage, sometimes referred to as Plan C. And here you're locking into a provider network. You're going into this world of pre-authorizations. Yes, you save premiums doing that path, but boy, I don't like it for most affluent retirees. So, all right, now we're going to go, let's just say you agree with me just for sake of argument. So you want to do traditional Medicare. Well, that leaves you with a new decision to make. And it's this: which supplement plan do you sign up for? Now, the two most popular, in my understanding, in today's environment are Plan G and Plan N. I prefer a third plan. The plan I prefer for the supplement is High Deductible G. So what's the supplement even about, right? So think about Medicare Part B. It covers your doctors, your surgeons, your outpatient care. And that's important. In some years, you might only have 2 or 3 medical appointments. And oh, by the way, those are going to be often at Medicare negotiated rates. So not a whole lot of expense. But in other years, you could have a heart attack. You could be in a car accident. You could have a sprained ankle or a knee injury or, who knows, right? So you could have a year with, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars of doctor's bills. And Part B is great, but Part B only covers 80% of doctor's bills, outpatient bills, surgeon's bills. So if you had $1 million of doctor's bills, which is not inconceivable, you would have 20% of that exposure on the hook. You'd have to pay for it without a supplement plan. And that's where the supplements come in. It's this 20% exposure that we're trying to insure against a cataclysmic financial result, right? Because if it's $500,000 or $1 million of doctor's bills in a year, nobody wants to be on the hook for $100,000 or $200,000 in doctor's bills. So you sign up for a supplement. Plan G, Plan N tend to be the most popular, to my understanding. But they're sort of like the Cadillac of supplement plans. And we have to think about what's the exposure here. The exposure is 20%. Is there maybe a better way to cover that exposure or most of it with a lower premium? And I would argue in many cases, yes. It's called High Deductible G. The drawback of High Deductible G is in the year 2026, that 20% exposure is subject to a deductible of $2,950. Well, I say, okay, why not save maybe 50%, 70% on first dollar expense, the premiums for the supplement plan, which the High Deductible G might be able to do. You got to look at your geography on that, but you should price these plans, and it might be that you save 50, 60, 70%, something in that ballpark by going High Deductible G versus the regular G plan. All right, so we're saving on first dollar expense. Love that. But now let's say we do have that $1 million year. Well, okay, we have these horrible things happen: car accident, heart attack, cancer. We don't like that, of course, but somebody's got to pay the bills. Well, if we're on a High Deductible G in 2026 and that happens to us, on that 20% exposure, remember 80% of all these medical, doctor's bills are going to be covered by Part B, but 20% is on us in the supplement. If we're on a High Deductible G, $2,950, our checking account to these medical providers, and then the rest of it to the moon is covered by our supplement plan. I like that. That gets us back to insurance being truly a financial product that protects us against financial ruin. So look, you got to do you got to do your research, but why overinsure, in my opinion, on a 20% exposure? Why not reduce premiums, maybe by half or more, and sign up for High Deductible G? And then, if you have the 2 or 3 medical appointments, fine, you pay the 20% out of pocket. You're probably not going to get to the $29.50 for the deductible for the year. But if you have the really bad year, your out-of-pockets are lower premiums and a $29.50 deductible on this 20% exposure. So High Deductible G, I think everyone who's in their 50s and early 60s ought to start thinking about, all right, how am I going to approach Medicare? And High Deductible G, I think, is something well worth looking into. Its availability can vary geography to geography, so you got to look at your location. But boy, I'm a big fan of High Deductible G. Let me know what you think about Medicare and High Deductible G. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please mash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I will see you next time.